Hello, you want to create a level, right? First you need Blender. I recommend version 3.6.18. Then you need the SM64 Co-op add-on for Blender. However, if you're using a lighting method that isn't baked light maps, then I'd recommend using SM64 Gart made by I'm Your Cat, which is significantly more suited for modern day Coop DX. Then you also need Simple Bake. However, this largely depends on your lighting method. Once again, if you're using baked light maps, this or another alternative will be needed. Keep in mind that Simple Bake does cost a bit of money too if you plan on going on the light map route. This tutorial will also mainly cover stuff for lighting to co-op. For example, SM64 and Blender settings I recommend, lighting techniques, and actually exporting your level to co-op. Nothing relating to how to model or texture with Blender will be shown here, as that is something you'll probably be better off watching a different tutorial for.
This is Blender.
Also, I recommend watching Robotronic's tutorial on SM64 before you watch this, because he explains SM64 in a very good way. So I'm going to begin by showing you the tips and tricks that are very useful for this. So let's get straight into it. Edit, Preferences, and then right here there's an install button. This is where you install your add-ons. They should be contained within a zip file. Do not do not extract this, as it's not you don't need to. So, and once you have that, just like search up the name of the theme. For example, SM64. Enable that. And then you can also do it for Simple Bake as well. Right here, Simple Bake. If you have Simple Bake, that is. Then rinse it out of that. And then go over here, SM64, and you'll want to put on Ignore Texture Restrictions. This will let you export textures, or export your level with textures that are over 32 by 64, or 64 by 32. Very nice to have. And then over here, up here, you can click on this magnet right here and the icon next to it. Then you can snap to Increment, Vertex, Edge, Face Project, Face Nearest, Volume, Edge Center, and Edge Perpendicular. If then you don't have to, but you can turn on Absolute Grid Snap. I'll show you what this does. And basically it snaps the origin to the nearest grid section. At least with snap to increment. What to do is, if you, for example, have a collision mesh or an object you want to be only a collision thing in your level, so you have like really wonky collision in your level, enable these. These will be very, very helpful. Of course, you gotta actually read it beforehand. So like if you ignore both, then it's just not gonna be there at all with collision or render. For example, for a collision mesh, you'd choose ignore render, and for just something that's purely visual, you would do ignore collision. I'm gonna make a level. Yahoo! And now that I have a level, I'm going to showcase, or not really showcase, but I'm going to show some things that are important for co-op. But with object behaviors and model IDs, you'll want to prefix behaviors with ID underscore and models with E underscore. I'm not entirely sure why this is necessary, but it seems to fix some issues that I've had in the past with my old levels, like freezing cold slopes. Not following this or using the presets for objects in FAST64 can sometimes lead to errors. And let me show you a few more things while I'm still here. There are 3 types of texture filtering. Nearest, this is the method I use for my levels. It gives a PS1 style look. Linear, this is the style used by Super Mario 64. And average. And I'm not sure about how average works because it seems to just be linear, just all over again. But I haven't really been able to like get it to work correctly, or at least get it to work like how it does in Blender. And the pixelated textures you see in my levels are purely a stylistic choice I prefer. You don't have to follow this approach, as it's entirely up to you and how you want to design your level. You also want to include depth planes within your levels. For example, if you have holes or empty space in your level, you want to put a depth plane in your level, otherwise this can cause collision issues around the edges of geometry, and you will not be able to walk off them. For this, you want to spawn a new plane, move it down, and subdivide it. You also want to remove the rendering from it.
Let's go!
Lighting approach number 1. This is Unlit Textures, basically just the pure color value of the textures themselves. The pure RGB values or hex values or whatever they use, I don't know. And so basically how you want to do this is you just want to go into the FAST64 tab and go to materials, go to the Unlit Textures preset, and then you can change a few stuff there, a few things there. A lot of ROM hacks use this, or they use this with a combination of fog as well. So if you're going for a ROM hack kind of style, this might be something you could do. I generally don't like this style though, as it's just no lighting.
Let's go!
This is another lighting technique that I've seen ROM hacks use. It's basically the SM64 shading. You'll see it in SM64's default levels, like Bomb Battlefield, ROM's Fortress. They all use it. It's also called Gouraud Shading. And to use this, you basically just want to repeat the same things for the unlit texture, except change the preset to SM64 shaded texture.
Oh yeah. Let's go.
Okay. Hopefully I'm talking into the mic correctly this time. Anyway, for line technique number 3, you basically want to go into FAST64, Vertex Shaded Colors, Vertex Colored Textures. And then basically what this will do is it'll let you use Vertex Colors, which is color data at each vertex. And it allows you to get like some pretty good detail in your levels. I normally use this one as it's pretty quick to set up and it's pretty easy to just start. Kays also does this in his ROM hacks. For example, Return to Yoshi's Island. It uses Vertex Colors there. And so if you want to have detail in your levels, more detail, I'd recommend using this one specifically. Now for this line technique number 4, this is the most complicated, and this is the only line technique specific to co-op only. The others can work for normal Super Mario 64. This one, unless the light map is a really low resolution, is only specific to co-op. And this one is a lot more difficult to explain, and it's a whole long process. So this is where Simple Bake will come in. You can use any other alternative if you want to. Simple Bake is just the recommended one, and you can use a alternative, especially if you can't pay the pretty penny that Simple Bake is. And there's a few things you want to configure beforehand. In Special Bakes, you want to enable light maps, and then you also want to enable ambient occlusion if you want to. It isn't exactly necessary, but I recommend ambient occlusion and light maps. And so then once you have all of your lighting set up, you want to bake it. Also you want to have your textures as BSDF when you bake them. This is Blender's default texture setup. This is what you want to have for these textures. And then you want to feed in your images to the co-op plugin. Then for some reason, sometimes when I've baked it, it's just not worked correctly and it just won't bake. If you run into this issue, try reinstalling FAT64 Co-op. That fixed it for me, but that's an issue I had. And once you have it baked, it should create a separate mesh, a new mesh with the materials on it, the new light map materials for SM64 Co-op on it. And you just want to use that and export it as you normally would. This lighting technique is used by two themes I know of. And these are like the only two themes I have seen it being used in. The first one is the Underworld, a ROM hack created by Agent X, where it uses these line techniques. And the second one is Arena's maps, like the game mode Arena. It'll use these light maps in its maps. And that's basically all I have to say about light maps. There's of course a whole other like stuff and things you need to do for them. And so if you really struggle on getting light maps into co-op, I would actually really just recommend joining the co-op Discord server. If I see your message, or if you ping me, I'll respond. So I also want to thank Moto Choto Chintu. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how to pronounce that name. I want to thank him for helping me with light maps, as well as Coolio Kid 956. They both helped me for actually getting these light maps in co-op. So big thanks to them.
Yeah, what? 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 Yeah. What? Yeah. 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 What? What? Yeah. 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 What? What? Yeah. Yeah. Whoa. Yeah.
Quick note, I'm not qualified to explain this, so you'll probably need to find help from somewhere other than me. So, there's a lot of stuff I didn't explain. Congrats, you've reached the final part of this video. And so once you've got your finished level ready, and it's good to go, and you want to import it into the game, first you want to go here over to the SM64 level exporter in the SM64 tab, the FAT64. Set the directory to your directory of your mod folder in the levels folder. If you haven't created it already, you just basically create a levels folder. This is not where I want to be. There we go. You basically want to have a levels folder, and then you click on this, double click on this, and then you find the level you want to export to, or the area you want to export to. Click accept, name it what you want to name it. For custom levels, it doesn't matter, but if you're trying to replace a level, then you have to actually use the level like code. For example, if I was replacing Bob on Battlefield, it'd be B-O-B, Bob. So let's just type Bob in there. And make sure you select something that's within your area node. Otherwise, it will not work correctly. And it will just give an error because it can't find the level root. And then click Export Level. And if we open up Co-op DX,
Good choice.
and we go to our level, we can see it's here.
Yahoo!
Pretty nice. And also, when you're trying to re-export a level, or when you start up co-op, it actually generates this .level file. And if you want to regenerate your level, you actually have to delete that level file, and then once you re-export your level from Blender, and you have to reopen the game, and then it'll regenerate the new .level file for your game. So that's basically it. Also, I'll put all of my levels, my tutorial levels, in the description, as well as a bunch of other links to the stuff you need for this. So, I don't know. Goodbye.